Hey everybody, welcome into the Volquest Mailbag podcast here on this Thursday morning. I'm Eric Kane alongside Brent Hubbs, Rob Lewis sliding on in here, Austin Price. Got plenty of things to get into. We're checking the mailbag today, but first remember guys, $29.95, the deal until kickoff, $29.95, a Volquest.com subscription up until kickoff, so go ahead and take advantage of that and continue to grow the family over on the General's Quarters.
Was that a Chris Collinsworth slide in by Rob Lewis there? Was that what he was pulling off? That he
what it looked like.
Did he come slide in that way? That was pretty impressive. Pretty impressive.
Gonna start being the new thing here on the Volquest pods every Tuesday and Thursday. Let's start with Zeusify. What are you most looking forward to seeing in spring practice besides Nico, Austin?
For me, it's James Pierce. It's Tyree West. It's Josh Josephs. Get them through the winter workouts and see how much they've grown. And you know, to me, it's not necessarily the true freshmen. It's the guys that are wrapping up at the end of their freshman year, heading into their sophomore campaign. For me, you know, that's kind of what I'm looking forward most to. And then maybe John Campbell. You know, I mean, Tennessee's play is going to be dictated by the offensive line play, by the tackle play. And, you know, we've not seen him live.
Yeah, I mean, I guess for me, it's more about what you hear about practice because unfortunately, we probably won't get to watch near as much as we'd like to get to watch. But for me, Rob, it's the transfers because I think when you look at who they have brought in, they really targeted some guys to fill some very clear holes. Whereas other transfer years, it was trying to build roster depth, right? But you bring in John Campbell to play. You bring in McCassell's the tight end because he's got to play. So for me, it's a lot about what those transfers look like because Tennessee's banking on some real plug-and-play situations there with those guys.
Yeah, I mean, at linebacker in particular, that's a big one. And for me, it's just maybe just the defensive backfield in its entirety. I mean, do any of the freshman corners, do they have a legit shot to play? Is there really going to be competition at safety? Or is it going to be, you know, plug and play the veterans, you know, from last year? So just defensive backfield, they're bringing in, you know, some exciting talent. They have some younger guys on the roster, like, you know, like Christian Charles. Does he find a home at safety? Just in general, the two deep in the defensive backfield, corner and safety. Is that legit competition? Do the young guys have a chance?
The safety position would not be plug and play; it would be mud and play. That's
AP, come on, AP.
I mean, but Eric, this spring feels different because they're you know there's an establishment there, right? They've got a lot of established players. It doesn't feel like 10 of them are going to be, you know, in a sling or on crutches, you know, rehabbing from surgery like we saw last year in the defensive backs. So that there is some more targeted things, and it feels like this spring is going to have a higher level of competition to it for playing time or for spots or pecking order, if you will, than maybe the first couple of springs did.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, there are some position groups that are up for grabs, no doubt. Offensive tackle. Again, everybody says it's going to be John Campbell. That's why you went out and got him, but you know, nothing's given. You got to come in here and, you know, get this offense down, get this tempo down. Look at the safety position you guys mentioned, the cornerback position, some of these other spots, those rotational spots on the defensive line. I mean, there are some spots up for grabs, no doubt. And, you know, for two, I got two. One would be the safety spots. You know, where is Danico Slaughter? Who is practicing at safety? Is Slaughter there? Is Christian Charles there? Is Wesley Walker there? I mean, who's practicing at safety? And then my other one would be those mid-year linebacker, you know, enrollees, those three guys. I'm excited to see kind of if there's any talk, any chatter about them. Squirrel White was the name that was mentioned a ton last spring, and it turned out that he did some things in the fall, and so I'll be intrigued to see what that looks like.
I mean, you're excited to see if Arion Carter is a young Eric Kane.
The dream should aspire higher than that. Let me
speaking of mud and blood. Mud and blood.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, is there any doubt that to you guys that Danico Slaughter should not be at corner? Am I the only one that thinks that that's like a laydown? I know it's not, but am I the only one that thinks that should be a laydown, that he's a coverage guy?
I don't think it should be a laydown, Brent, because I think he was the best cornerback they had last year, and I know he might be better at safety.
He should be a corner.
I mean, he should be a laydown to be a corner.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Safety. I mean, like, to me, like, he should be like, you're the starter on this side. Like, that it should be Slaughter Island over there. Like, you go do your thing. Like, I don't understand. I mean, I don't with where they are with safety and the fact they haven't rotated some guys back there. To me, Danico Slaughter should be like, yeah, I've got no desire to play safety. I know he likes that position, but it's like, I'm good. Leave me out there.
AP, that should not be confused with Savage Island, where you just got back from for 2 weeks.
I did love someone posted something about Pound Town on the board the other day, and I just laughed.
It's a family show. Come on.
I read that to my wife. Slaughter Island, the only island I did not visit in the last couple of weeks.
Speaking of the secondary,
I'm
Gator
sure you'll
Dog.
find a way to get there, AP. I'm sure you'll find a way to get to one.
Yeah, no doubt. Gator Dog. Pre-spring, who would you start at safety if you were the coach? Kind of on this note here.
Anybody knew, man. Anybody knew. I'm sorry. Like, again, good kids, but they've got to have an open. I'm not saying that it can't be who's been back there, but to me, it's got to be a full-blown open competition to get better. You've got to be more athletic in the back end.
You got to get faster.
You've got to get faster. You've got to be just better. And so, like, to me, like, there can't be any perceived starters. And I get the notion on the board, which is, you know, until I see it otherwise, like, that's what it's going to be. I mean, because right now that's what we've seen through 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, more athletic, obviously faster, just a guy who makes plays, right? Like a guy who can get themselves in position to make plays and then make the play. Like, they just haven't made, whether they're fast enough. I mean, yeah, they're not fast enough to overcome a mistake, but they're also haven't been instinctive enough back there to put themselves in a position to make a play.
Look at Theo Jackson.
Just play somebody who can make a play is all I'm saying. Not who's 7 yards behind him to make the tackle. Go make a play on the ball. Put somebody back there who's going to play that way.
Well, to Hubs' point, I know Hubs is going to go, amen, yes, this is what I've been saying. Danico Slaughter did more on plays on the ball, interceptions in the last month of the season than Warren Burrell's done in his entire career at corner. Same type thing at safety. You've got to have guys that go make plays and not just guys that are back there that, you know what they're doing and they're, you know, you don't worry too much.
I mean, Robin, this day and age, with as much as the ball's in the air, you got to have people back there who can make a play, who instinctively can go find the football. And as a safety spot, they've just not had enough of that, in my opinion, the last few years.
Totally agree. I mean, I don't have anything to add. You got to get faster. You got to have guys back there that can cover ground and do different things.
How about the three of you actually answer the question, though? Give me two guys who you want to see out there day one.
Well, I mean, I want to see what Jordan Thomas looks like, right?
Yep.
But I don't know that he's ready to go play. I mean, Danico Slaughter might be your best safety, but he may be your best corner. You know.
Have we seen enough of Wesley Walker at safety? I mean, he was.
Yeah, he's in that rotation. I mean, whether or not he's the plays every snap or not, at least, you know, he's made some plays at the line of scrimmage. He misplayed a ball in the Orange Bowl, but he's in position on the ball. I mean, Wesley Walker would be where I would start, and then we'll see. To me, after that, it's wide open, because what does Jordan Thomas do? What does Christian Charles do? You know, do you move Danico Slaughter back there? I mean. That's what spring's about. I mean, I don't think they should come out of spring with two starters. I really don't. I think that competition should carry itself into fall camp. I don't think 15 days with different bodies looking at different combinations back there is enough practice time to say, okay, we're set in the back end. I don't see that personally.
Yeah, I agree.
That's what spring practice is for. Doolittle Vol, would you say 24 recruiting is going to be better than expected, as expected, or worse than expected based off the feedback you've gotten from recruits to this point? And how many commitments should we expect between now and the end of spring practice?
I'll go with, about like what's expected. I've got the dog running around in here because, it's a snow day or, non-snow day that the kids got out of school.
It was take a holiday today in your county. We've got a snow day to burn. Let's use it. as it's 44 degrees outside, and there hasn't been a snowflake in the last month.
We do the wink again. You know, I think it's going to go about what I expected, which is I think they'll have a better class than this past year on the whole. But you're not going to have maybe the star power because you don't have Nico in this class. You're not going to have a quarterback like Nico. But I think you can have a deeper group of players overall. So maybe not, I guess, just number of 4 stars. I think they'll be greater than this past class. But I'm not sure that you're sitting there with multiple 5 stars in this 2024 class. I just think it's going to be deeper.
And you're not going to have the number 1 overall recruit in the country to boost your stock.
No.
There you go.
Nashville 94 wants to know, Rob, could we get an update on 23 and 24 basketball recruits? Who's Tennessee pushing for, and if we lead for anyone?
23 right now, I mean, unless some international guy pops up or somebody asks out of an NIL because of a coaching change, I think they're probably – I don't know that I see a 23 kid popping up. Somebody could appear out of nowhere. 24-wise, Cam Scott from down in South Carolina, probably the guy I would put at the top of the board, number 12 in the on-3 rankings. Really nice shooting guard. Been here for an unofficial visit. Tennessee's trying to get him back in February for an official. Juke Harris is a guard from over North Carolina. It's been here a couple times. Ahmad Null is originally from Memphis. He's a point guard. He plays at a prep school up in Philadelphia. He's definitely on the short list. So Tennessee needs to get him on campus. But I would say Cam Scott, Juke Harris, 2 guys that have been here a couple times unofficially. Juke Harris has been here officially. Those are guys I would put at the top of the board.
Rob, that was a great answer. I'm sitting over here laughing at Max just peering right over the right shoulder of Austin Price that entire time. Does he want to say something
Flash
else?
at Rob? Where's Flash? You got your Basset Hound.
Oh, there he is.
The dog.
Looks like you can tell the difference in the households. Mike's very interested in what is going on in football recruiting, and Flash is like, yeah, okay, whatever.
Molly, not so
or
much.
Molly is like, yeah,
there
whatever.
You go, Molly.
There she is. All right, let's move on here. Let's go to Nashville 615. With so much emphasis on 2024 recruiting class correlated with the 11-2 Orange Bowl season, will it be disappointing if Tennessee is in a top 3 SEC recruiting class? Should 23 class quality ranking be the floor in terms of expectations?
I don't know. They were fringe top 10 this year, guys. I thought their class was great. Filled needs. Could it have been better? I mean, yeah, sure. I mean, you could have had, better tackle, overall. I mean, I like Sham, but I mean, you could have added another big time tackle. You could have added, a couple other pieces, big time running back. But I mean, again, Tennessee thinks they got a big time running back in Cam Seldon, but Seldon's one of those guys that's kind of a tweener as far as like, is he a receiver? Is he a running back? He's both. They're going to move him around. So I think ultimately, top 3 in the SEC. I don't get all in my feels about such things because ultimately Florida can be not very good, but they're going to recruit really, really well. I mean, look, they were a fringe top 10 team this year too, and they were terrible. And I mean, like, you know what I'm saying? I mean, like, you just have so many big time players within a stone's throw of your campus, a drive from your campus. It's a lot easier to get to Gainesville for all those kids than it is to get to Knoxville. And I know that people don't like hearing those things, but it's just true. I mean, they're always going to recruit well there. So to me, you've got to recruit well enough, and you've got to, fill needs. Again, I get like the premise of what Shannon Terry said, or what Jesse kind of expanded upon with his column. To get past the Georgias and Alabamas, you've got to have, just more and more elite players. But at the end of the day, like, to me, you've got to recruit well enough and develop. You can have great players, and if you don't develop them, it don't matter. Josh Heupel has proven he can develop. Glenn Ellerby's proven he can develop, so on and so forth. Now, if you can get the top end guys and develop those guys, that's where you take it over the top. So yeah, you want to get the top end guys, but like to me, like you don't have to be top 3 in the league or whatever. And I just think that some of that's overblown.
Well, I think the reality is where Georgia's at right now is historic. Okay, because Georgia's never been there. Okay?
Always been that, right?
You know, stacking the classes that they're stacking and winning championships. They've not done that. Alabama's the only other school that's been in that conversation. I think if you're in the top 10, top 12, and you can develop and those guys pan out and you don't lose 10 of your signees and all those types of things, then I think you have a chance. Sure. We saw a 50-point blowout, Rob, in the national championship game because TCU's highest ranked recruiting class was in the 30s over the last 4-year period, and Georgia's was in the top 5 every year. That is a large disparity in talent, right? That's a great gap in talent. If you're in the top 10 to number 1, there's I guess a gap there, but the gap is not like a 40-point gap like we saw in the national title game with TCU, where they just didn't have enough talent to compete with Georgia on that stage. But if you're in the top 10 in this league, you're signing a pretty good class.
If you're in the top 5 in this league, you're in the top 10 nationally. I mean, to AP's point, Florida should recruit better than Tennessee every year. I would throw LSU in there just because of local talent.
Yep.
And the way Alabama and Georgia are going right now, I mean, it's like Hubbard said, it's historic. So, I mean, if you can finish 5th in the SEC, I mean, and I'm not trying to concede anything or say Tennessee should always be satisfied with that. Let's talk the landscape right now. Georgia and Alabama are on a different plane, and LSU and Florida should always be an easy recruiting job. And it's just, at Tennessee, you've got to go find Jamal Lewis, Carl Pickens, Heath Schuler. Who else was in the Rodney's historic class? Fred Weary.
Yeah,
Cozy Coleman.
But here's the thing at those times. Here's the thing at those times, and I'm not discrediting the accomplishment of getting those guys, and I'm not discrediting the accomplishment of anything Philip Fulmer achieved. Georgia was bad during that.
Clemson was bad.
Clemson was bad. Alabama was down.
LSU
was down. I mean, like, you look around, Georgia should never be bad, ever. With the recruiting soil they have, they should always be in the commit. That's why a lot of people in this league thinks that's the best job in the conference. LSU should never be bad. Like, LSU should look at the Jerry DiNardo, Curly Hallman days of the 90s and go, what in the Sam Hill were we doing? Like, they should not be bad, because of the recruiting bases that they have to deal with. And, those schools were down, and Tennessee took full advantage of it. And Tennessee deserves every bit of credit for that. But I mean, Tennessee going 45-5 in the landscape of this league right now, like they did in the 90s, I don't think is a very realistic, attainable goal. That's not to say you can't win a championship, but you're not going to dominate the landscape like you did in that stretch when it was a 2-team league for 4 or 5 years with Florida. And that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, more fertile recruiting grounds. A&M, LSU, Florida, Georgia, Alabama, Auburn, than Tennessee. And that's just facts. And so, you've got to, sell other things. You got to overcome some of those obstacles. Again, Tennessee, Hubbs is right. The discrepancy and the difference between top 2, 3 and top 7 or 9, not a whole lot. And that's I would stick with that. Again, their class, Alabama's class, was filthy this year. But like, if Tennessee hits on David Hobbs and they hit on Tyree West and they hit on the pass rushers and the linebackers, Tennessee's class defensively, I'll put it up against right up there with just about anybody's. The corners.
Yeah, you got to develop them and you got to keep them, right? Because what is December? What is December becoming as much as anything else when we're talking about the transfer portal, Eric? Right? It's roster management, but it's roster retention.
Yep.
Can you keep your elite players, your elite talent in your program to the point they get to the field to help you, or do they leave you? Right? And that's going to be That's the interesting challenge for coaches moving forward. It's not just that. It's not just getting them, because used to when you got them, nobody was going to take a year off and set out and wait. You had to be pretty miserable to transfer or get run off. Now, hey man, I'm out. I'll take the greener pastures, and that's why your roster retention is going to be such the catchphrase for everybody moving forward because of the portal.
We go from Nashville 615 to Nashville Vol 615. Saw Ohio State just released their financial reports for the 2022 year, set a school record for them. Has Tennessee released theirs? Have to imagine this could be a record year for athletic revenue.
Yeah, fiscal year for Tennessee is July to July or July to June. So those numbers are not out yet. But, yeah, it's obviously going to be everything's up at Tennessee. Everybody's smiling on campus right now, and with good reason, right? Applications are up. They're building buildings. They're ranked in the polls everywhere, and everybody's getting raises, and you're writing checks. So there's not a lot of people walking around with a lot of frowns on their faces on campus right now, but the actual numbers won't be revealed until the fiscal year rolls over.
Rob, got a couple of hoops questions for you from Vulcan. For the life of me, I've never understood why teams don't run 4 high and post Zakai's defensive assignment or 5 high and run Zakai Ziegler's man through the lane. Texas is the first team that I've seen even try that. They did it once in the first half successfully. Didn't go back to that until middle of the second half where he tried it twice only. Do you think this is because guards today never learned to post up, or is this a help defense of the Vols that is respected? Seems a mystery to me. I'd run it until the Vols stop it.
Yeah, well, I think help defense is a big part of it. But also, I mean, I watch a lot of college basketball. I don't know if the guy posted the question does or not. I don't see a lot of guards posting up. I mean, I don't think it's a skill that a lot of guys have. I mean, watch Tennessee. I mean, you see Josiah do it sometimes, but he's 6'6", 6'7". I mean, he's not your typical guard. So to me, that's just not a skill that a lot of guys have. I mean, in the NBA, yes, but I mean, what there's going to be a million college basketball games on tonight. Watch and see how many times you see a guard get the ball in the low post. It just it doesn't happen much.
And Rob, I mean, here's the other thing too. I mean, for that to work, your 5 guy has to be able to drag his defender out there, right?
Yes.
Which means he's got to have to be able to shoot a jump shot. It's not like the NBA where everybody's positionless, right? Everybody can shoot from the perimeter in the NBA for the most part. So how many teams are they're going to take their post player and leave Zakai or leave a guard by himself in the paint because they're worried about the 5-man on the wing making a 17, 18-foot jump shot? That's just not going to happen very often.
And Tennessee, I mean, if it's a small lineup with Olivier at the 5, they're switching everything. Right. I mean, they're not. I mean, they're switching 1 through 5, and even if Adu's out there with Josiah at the 4, they're switching 1 through 4. So it's not as easy just to, as some people might think, to say, hey, we're going to take Zakai down on the low block and post up our guard, who really does not have any kind of back to the basket game to begin with. And the only reason we're doing that is because Zakai's 5'7". So I don't think you see a lot of, college guards that have Kevin McHale's post moves.
All right, Rob, finish the sentence. Vols basketball is best when these 3 players play the most minutes.
Zakai, Santiago, Josiah.
And a comparison question: if the Vols make weekend 3 in March Madness, which player has emerged as the Vols' most consistent offensive threat? Zakai, Santi, Josiah, Julian Phillips, or Olivier?
I don't think anything is going to change much. I mean, they got 5 guys that can score, roughly double digits. I mean, I don't think you're going to see one guy. I mean, Santi's the leading scorer right now in SEC play, around 12 points a game. I don't think you're going to suddenly see Santi scoring 18 points a game or Josiah scoring 16 points a game. I mean, I don't think there's going to be a lot of change. It's going to be, I'm not trying to dodge the question, but I don't think you're going to see somebody suddenly separate themselves from the pack and be, scoring, 18, 19 points a game. What Tennessee is what they're going to be a month from now.
Rob, am I wrong in feeling this way? Zakai is going to get points. He's going to play. And Santiago is going to do those things. Josiah is going to get his shots. If Tennessee is deep in the run, those are givens, right? Doesn't it have to be either Josiah being really hot for 3 weekends or Olivier, giving you not 27, but giving you consistent points if Tennessee's going to go that deep, because you know what you're going to get with your backcourt night in and night out. They have proven themselves, and I would throw Josiah into that proven category. Whereas the yo-yo of Olivier is, if they don't show, if he doesn't show up, then it's all on the guards to make plays. If he shows up, aren't they different offensively?
Yeah, I couldn't agree more, Hubbard. I mean, okay. I don't think Olivier can go out in the second round, or certainly the Sweet 16, and score, have 6 points and 2 rebounds, and Tennessee have a good day at all.
All right, let's move on here. We got a couple here from Athrun. First, thoughts on the new preferred walk-on quarterback, Austin Price?
I mean, Ron Dameron's a good, solid player. Tennessee needed to add depth, and we've talked about this ad nauseum. Like, I just think it was going to be near impossible to bring in a scholarship quarterback unless you could do the Clemson route. And those guys that are looking to be GAs, are few and far between. Most of those, Tennessee, I think probably would have entertained the idea of bringing JT Shrout back, but JT Shrout wants to play. Like, very few of them want to just hold a clipboard and start working towards being a coach. And so, if you can find one of those guys, man, you better gobble them up. You gobble them up. Like Clemson's done the last couple of years. They've done a nice job of that. Ron Dameron's a good, solid player. He played well at Henry County, and, but at the end of the day, I mean, he's probably never going to play it down here, but, he'll get to run through the tee, and he'll get to go through practice and give the scout team a look.
Yeah, 3 inches taller, he would have been a fascinating prep quarterback. He would have been, a fascinating recruitment at 2.5, 3 inches taller than what he is right now.
Who do you see taking over the H-back role now that Fant has graduated? That is a tight end position, so whoever's in the game at tight end will line up at the H-back if the formation calls for it. Is there something just different about kids from New York, Rob? Sakai and Toby Owaka as example.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't go that far into stereotype, every, prospect or recruit that comes out of there. But
you were a big Brian Williams fan.
Yeah, exactly. I wouldn't. That's a great example. AP, though, Brian Williams. I mean, and love Brian Williams, but I mean, that's an example of a kid that's not Tobe Owaka. I'll just put it like that. So I mean, you get some guys like that. I mean, Zakai's a different breed. I don't think it's necessarily because he's from New York. I mean, he's just got something inside him that sets him off. But there's some of that. But there's a million kids that come out of New York every year, and they are not all Zakai Ziegler.
It's all about the personality, right, Rob? It's like I always kind of chuckle at the notion like Al Wilson played harder because he was wearing a Tennessee uniform. I mean, Al Wilson would have done at Notre Dame or wherever he went. He would have
UT Martin.
Same way. Yeah, he would have played the same way. So, it's about who the individual is, not where they're from or who they're, what uniform they're putting on.
Yeah. So, I mean, you get some tough kids out of New York, but I just, I wouldn't just make a blanket statement that, New York guys are tougher. I mean, I think you got a couple of kids in Zakai and Tobe who, if they had grown up in Jacksonville, Florida, would have had the same thing.
To quote Rooster from Top Gun Maverick, it's not about the plane, it's about the pilot in the box.
Big Ball Lab wants to know, it seemed like the defensive backs consistently gave too much cushion. Is that more of a function of their talent or scheme? Our coach is telling them to not get beat deep and to play further off the line. Brent, this is something that was talked about earlier in the season.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit. I don't think they're telling a guy who's lining up 10 yards off the ball backpedal 10 more yards or as the ball snapped. I don't think that's how it's being. I think part of it is
confidence.
It's your confidence, right? I mean, it's the same way if you're a basketball defender. If you're worried about getting beat, and the guy crossing you up, you may not have the confidence to get in his grill 22 feet from the basket, right? You're going to back up and give him some more room. So I think part of that is confidence. Some of it's scheme when you get into some zone looks and some different things like that. But, again, when it's 3rd and 6 and you're lining up 6 yards off the ball and your first, 7 or 8 steps are backwards, that's an easy first down completion. They've got to be tighter. There's no doubt about that. I think that's the thing that Danico Slaughter, that's why, I like Danico Slaughter. That's why I'm talking about Danico Slaughter out there, is because he didn't give up as much ground and he stuck his foot in the ground and, and went through a receiver. I mean, He made a play in the Kentucky game we just hadn't seen Tennessee's corners make really all season long. And it's plays like that Tennessee needs more of at the corner position. And it requires a guy with a short memory and a lot of confidence out there.
Be a goldfish, AP.
Let's go to hitter. Do you keep up with our SEC rivals? Which SEC East opponent was hurt the most by the portal? Which helped themselves the most?
South Carolina was hurt the most from the portal. They lost a bunch. I mean, they're hot in recruiting right now, for 24, but we'll see where that is 6 months from now. I mean, you got to be able to sustain that and hold on to kids for near a year. As far as, who helped themselves, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if anybody helped themselves a ton. Who? Florida
got a quarterback. I mean, he's not great, but
Graham Mertz is just kind of I mean, like
got to play.
I don't know. I don't think Florida helped themselves a little bit. I thought Georgia did, but then you've got all this off season. I mean, Rah gets whatever sided with whatever he got sided with, and obviously they've got all the other distractions down there. But I mean, they'll be fine. I'm not sure anybody in the East just like stockpiled talent from the portal. At least it just didn't feel that way to me.
No Ole Misses in the East where they're at 14 guys signed or 15 guys signed and they go and attack the portal.
The portal king.
Yeah, which to be honest with you, I think the portal king nationally is Norvell at Florida State, not Lane Kiffin. I think what Florida State's done the last 2 years in the portal is better than anything Lane Kiffin's put together in terms of portal work to date. I mean, Florida State, they're focusing a lot on the portal. I mean, their last year portal class was good, not just Jared Verse, but they got help elsewhere, and they brought in, I think, a good bit of talent. I think they may be the biggest national winner in the portal.
My thing, and I agree with you 100%, like I just don't know what Lane's doing. He brings in the kid from Kansas State, he brings in Walker Howard from LSU, and he's already had Jackson Dart. So, I mean, that pretty much signifies, like, I wasn't crazy about Jackson Dart, right? I mean, if you're bringing in 2 transfer quarterbacks, like, if you're Jackson Dart, what do you think? Like, probably not going to play.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's not, I mean, of course, can they go anywhere else? They're probably stuck now. I mean, but somebody at the end of the spring is not going to be very happy because it's not going to be what they thought it was going to be when they transferred in or what they were told it was going to be.
Yeah, if I'm Jackson Dart, I'm probably not putting a deposit down on any fall housing.
Yeah, and I don't know if anybody can graduate and be a graduate transfer, but I mean, Jackson Dart's already transferred, used his one time, and you got 2 others who are one-time transfers. They may all be stuck.
Yep.
Well, also, if you're that second quarterback that came in, essentially the third one to join that group there, I mean, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you doing that? I mean, you obviously were told, hey, you're going to start. So you're either going to get lied to or you're just making a stupid decision, in my opinion, because, I mean, that room's crowded. Let's get 2 more. We'll go to Pine. Does football, basketball, or baseball finish higher in the year-end polls? Which sport will finish higher in the year-end polls? Football finished 6th, right?
I'll go basketball.
Okay.
As my pick, because the AP poll comes out. Final AP poll comes out before tournament play, right, Rob?
After the conference tournament, because Tennessee finished 4th or 5th.
Yeah, so I'll take basketball for that reason.
I don't even know when the final poll comes out for baseball. I mean, I would imagine after everything's done. So that's all hinged on getting to Omaha, I would imagine. So I mean, that's really challenging. For that reason alone, I think Tennessee can get to Omaha, but it's tough. I'll go basketball as well.
I think the final poll comes out before the NCAA tournament begins in baseball.
I mean, it might. I've never covered it
because
in terms of the beat.
Teams get eliminated at different times.
Well, if that's the case, then I'll go baseball, without a doubt. Slam dunk, baseball.
I'll go golf.
Golf's not an option.
I would go baseball if the final baseball poll is done before postseason play starts.
Yeah, seriously, if that is the case, and again, I just simply don't know, then I will go baseball.
Too. Yeah,
for sure. All right, last one. We've had one the last couple of shows, and this is again from Mr. Rocky Top Rowdy. I couldn't remember any of you guys watch The Office at all, or is that just me and Grant?
That's not me.
No.
Well, second week in a row, we don't have anybody on here to help me out here, but Mr. Rocky Top Rowdy says Brent is David Wallace. I can see that. This one I love. AP is Dwight, not because Dwight's crazy, but because he's really good at his job and he's the right-hand man. That makes sense. Rob is Oscar. I think Rob is more a Creed, in my opinion. Grant is Stanley, which I think makes so much sense because Stanley never talks and he's just a smart aleck, and I think that's kind of spot on. Says that I am Daryl. I'm not sure I get that one. And then Matt is Clark and Pete, which are the two young new guys, and very much on par with the Luke and Leia kids reference from How I Met Your Mother. Honorable mention, this is actually a really good one. Jesse is Todd Packer. He shows up, wrecks the site, and leaves. That's the best one right there.
Gator dog.
Bonus question. Rob, how many carton of eggs is Eric Kane worth in a trade?
I don't see. I don't really. I'm aware just from like scrolling through Twitter that eggs are apparently expensive, but I've got no real world experience of that.
3 cartons, 4 carton of eggs. Now, are these?
Here's the thing: we have our own chickens on the farm, so we have our own eggs. So we're not in the marketplace for eggs. So at this point, to me,
that tractor tire though, hey,
I mean, Eric Kane's value in eggs is very debatable at this point. We have
oh, got to love it. All right,
you know what, AP? Though he goes to so many restaurants where there's chickens walking around.
Oh,
that he saves
cats, dogs.
That was a man. Like again, like my kids have watched Moana, so I always see the little chicken around in Moana. Hey. But like I didn't realize that was such a thing in Hawaii. I mean, there were thousands and thousands of them just walking around, like whether it be like in the parking lot, at a convenience store, or just walking out of the woods. Like you'd be walking through like the jungle and there'd just be this random rooster. And I'm like, if we have a shortage, man, I know where Chick-fil-A and Zaxby's are coming to.
Well, I went out to eat a couple of times in Mexico and did not have a similar experience to Johnny Boston's whatsoever. I was a little disappointed.
Had no live animals while walking through.
Let's tell that story. Let's tell that story.
At the point in time you're eating your hamburger.
So we let Kane pick the.
Again, AP will say it. I'll provide context. Go ahead.
We let Kane pick the place to eat the first day down in Miami. And the first place we went, didn't come up to snuff, so we left. And like, hey, we think about this. Sounds good. We pull up, and it looked like we're going to eat at the Cotton Eye Joe. Just kind of how you like parked. The building was shaped similarly. We walk in. There's this guy at the bar. This is like middle of the day. I called it like the restaurant version of like the casino in Vegas Vacation, where they're like, playing like 21 and, which hand and all that stuff. And like, there's a guy at the bar and there's a cat wrapped around his neck. There's like little dogs walking around and
sweaters,
cats like walking around.
And AP is sending me pictures of animals walking around the restaurant this whole time.
I am just riding Kane at this point. At this point, I would have given him away for free. There wouldn't have been a trade for some eggs. So I'm sitting there, and it's like a little circle table, and I'm furthest away from where this woman walks up, holding the cat, while Eric and Brent, she walks up in between them, and their food has just arrived, and she's holding this cat, and I was like, dude, I'm telling you, it was one of the most bizarre scenes I've ever seen in my life. I shut
down after that. I mean, I was planting my flag on the ground. I was defending it. I was pissed after that. I was like,
it was Subway and Chick-fil-A the rest of the week.
So we were, I mean, it was that Monday or whatever, and we had done stuff that morning and gone to practice and all that. And it's like 2:00, and Austin's bitching about trying to eat. So I'm just like, all right, we're trying to find something. We go in there, and I'm like, oh, this does not look good. And Brent's like, let's check it out. It looks good. Let's sit down. Let's eat. Brent was all about it just because of the experience.
Until he saw the food, and then, or not the food, but the animals. And then he kind of got a little queasy. Now, I'll say
food was good, though.
Agree, the food was good.
Yeah.
The food was good.
Rob, here's the best part of that. The first building we saw, we got like 3 blocks away from it. AP was out. He was out before we ever saw the parking lot, before we ever saw like if there was a door there. The building, it was like an old White Castle restaurant.
Yes, it was.
Right? AP was done. He had checked out of that. We're not eating here. This is not going to work. And so it was time to eat. It's 3:00 in the afternoon. So I walked in. I asked the lady, we're the only people in there. Y'all serve lunch? She's like, sure. I'm like, all right, let's have at it. And then, you know, it was a little bit raining outside, and here come the animals 2 by 2, you know, just making their way through the bar. Some of the animals, like Max, got up on stage. I thought they were going to perform at one point, and then when
that
lady comes over there and goes, "Hey, do you like my cat?" And it was
she was high.
Eric was done,
and the one waitress started yelling at her to put the cat down.
I mean, she was cracked out on like 10 different things. I'm like, lady, move.
Scene. I mean, it was a total Seinfeld scene.
I've been to many different dive bars. I've been to many different sketchy appearances, but that was fine up until we saw the livestock in there. And
Eric got him a bottle koozie out of it, though.
I did.
Yeah, when the random lady asked Eric if he liked her cat, I was out.
So was I. It was not great. All right, it only went up from there. We ate pretty well the rest of the week. I'll say that. Appreciate you guys for sitting through that story and hanging out with us here on the Volquest Mailbag Podcast. Thanks so much for the questions. We'll do it again next week. It's every Thursday right here on the show or right here on the site. If you haven't already, like this video and subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Please and thank you. And don't forget, $29.95. It's a good deal for now until kickoff. Volquest.com subscription, $29.95. And you can join the community over at Volquest.com. For Brent Hubbs, Max, Austin Price, Rob Lewis, and the cat at Boston Johnny Boston's, I'm Eric Kane. Appreciate you guys, and have a great rest of your Thursday, everybody.